Don, I want to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So for everybody listening, we're going to be talking blockchain, backups, data archiving, how to protect yourself from ransomware. And one of the most important concepts is business continuity. How you have rapid recovery so that you keep your business going and operational in the midst of the reality of ransomware these days. And I'll just introduce you a little bit, Don, and then we'll just jump right in.
Wonderful.
So talking with Don Beavers today. He's the president of Probability and Statistics, Inc., which he'll talk about in a moment, and the CEO. And at Sollensys, where he specializes in database and blockchain applications for web, aerospace, and defense projects. And Don has pushed the limits of what's possible with blockchain and crypto, using math and science to tackle seemingly impossible challenges, and his unique approach to technology and leadership to step up and be willing to embrace risk to change the future. And I would say, blockchain is the future. And I don't know, I personally have used Bitcoin. I understand I've had some very great interviews with blockchain experts on the show. But this is the first time we've actually talked about something that's an application to solve some real problems for people. So Don, tell me about the relationship between probability and statistics and the company Sollensys that you're with now?
Right. So they're two separate companies. I'm officially the CEO of Sollensys. I'm still the president of PNS. We started out as a math and science company here on Florida's Space Coast, working mostly with defense and aerospace on deep end of the swimming pool, multi-physics mathematics. Complex calculations. So we were kind of a computation house. Did some engineering. We had a request a few years back from a company that wanted to do a proof of concept on blockchain for their supply chain. They were building a pretty impressive mock-up of a satellite delivery system. And they wanted to track all the parts from origin to see if it could be done and to see if it was successful. Because in aerospace, if you have a faulty part, or someone cuts some corners, or someone sabotages one of your parts, it can cost, you're looking at a $700 million rocket and, up to a $2 billion payload. And there are a lot of bad actors out there, foreign governments, or even just kids trying to prove how uber their hacking is, that would love to see one of those blow up on the launch pad. So having blockchain to create an immutable record of every part, all the way back to who milled it, who designed it, even the bauxite where the aluminum was mined from, all the way back. And
Sure.
Every step of the way, and you can, at least if you do have a disaster, you can know exactly what happened. Right. And if at some point in the future with artificial intelligence and machine learning, maybe we can, with this kind of data, maybe eliminate risks in a big way with that. So we were very successful on that project. Let me make another point real quick, just for your listeners. Blockchain is not Bitcoin. Blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin. It is a super secure, a very unique and new way to keep data safe and to access it. The blockchain is something that we've been using not for crypto. We don't do cryptocurrency. We saw beyond the flash, which was Bitcoins and Ethereum and buy my girlfriend a MaseratiCoin.com, all the stuff that you had to deal with a few years back. And we saw the technology as an opportunity to provide a very viable alternative to the businesses out there. After we did that one prototype project, we went on to do 4 enterprise level applications that were successful and are in the stream of commerce today. Over the COVID break, we had an interruption in business, of course, I suppose everybody did. And we decided to take that time, rather than laying everybody off and going to the beach or sitting at home with a mask on, we decided to pivot and re-engineer our blockchain to make it, to democratize it, to make it available to any business out there, make it platform agnostic, make it easy to use. And we kind of stripped out the parts of the enterprise systems that really weren't applicable to what we were trying to put together. And we wound up with the absolute best purpose that we found for blockchain, which is for archiving data. It makes data immutable, and it makes data indestructible, because our data isn't stored in one location. It's in fragments in many, many locations. So anything short of an extinction level event, you still have your data. So no matter what evil befalls you in your business, if you have a rogue employee or sabotage or ransomware attack, any of those evils that befall you, it's going to cause you problems, but it's not going to put you out of business, because you always have your data in a parallel universe out here that cannot be touched. So you can always start from scratch, reset up your servers, and pull your data in and be back in business. And
for those of you listening, that what Don is referring to by parallel universe means the fundamental architecture of blockchain is a distributed ledgering system, which essentially have multiple nodes are all counting for truth. So think of a banking system. You have a bank that is the harbinger of the truth of your record. But in the blockchain world, it's a distributed system in which the truth is, in this case, the data points are distributed across multiple nodes on a network, which is the fundamental architecture of blockchain. And feel free to build upon that, Don.
Sure. The way that the system works is we have what we call a blockchain archive server, which is a standalone independent unit that's a bolt onto your system, or it can be virtual, but it doesn't interfere in any way with what you're doing right now. And periodically throughout the day, it siphons off information out of your server, the crown jewels, we like to call them, the important stuff that you absolutely have to have for compliance reasons or to stay in business. It takes those into the blockchain archive server and it compresses them, it encrypts them, and then literally shreds the data and sends those shreds out to different nodes around the world, or some of it's geofence, so just the United States, if you can't store your data outside the United States. And that data kind of becomes quantum in nature. It only exists when you reassemble it. So imagine taking the yellow pages and taking a black magic marker and going through every phone number and then shredding the yellow pages and then sending little pieces of the yellow pages to cities and hiding them in cities all over the planet. And then in order to do any damage to them, you would have to find those pieces, put them back together, get rid of the marker. Basically, it's impossible to alter the data because it's replicated in multiple locations. So if you have a power outage in Florida because of a hurricane, or California because of an earthquake or a fire, you still have your data dispersed everywhere. So there's no single point of failure. And then if something bad happens, you can utilize a server to summon your data back. And we have two different blockchains. One keeps your data fragments and the other keeps the secret decoder ring that puts it all back together.
Encryption key.
Yes, and it brings it back together. So you basically summon your data back, and then it reassembles it, and it de-encrypts it, and it puts it in a little folder for you to get your business back online. And it sounds impossible, but it's not.
Well, we asked you some hard questions, because we've been, as you might imagine, we're in the backup and recovery business. So we always make sure that our businesses have. It doesn't matter how great your security is if you can't get yourself back up and fast.
Yes.
And so now with making sure that backups even don't have gaps, that we must have air gaps within the system to make sure that we actually do have those classic backups. But I asked a question, or maybe it was my CTO, what happens if one of those nodes that you've distributed these data bits to this essentially ledger system, how do you what if one of those systems gets compromised? One of those nodes, do you lose 4%, 9%, 12% of the whole package?
Well, the data never doesn't reside on your blockchain archive server. We make 5 copies of it before we delete that copy off your blockchain archive server, because we don't want data just sitting in your data center, right? It needs to be in the blockchain. But those 5 copies are then propagated into more copies. And if someone does hack into one of the nodes and try to make some changes, first of all, it's a pile of confetti, so it's really hard to make any changes. But if there is a change in one of those folders, the beauty of blockchain is that because it's a distributed ledger, all the other ledgers check before a transaction is done. So if you have 90% of your, or 51% of your nodes saying, hey, that node has been tampered with, it's taken offline.
Okay.
And it's not allowed to return as a node until we find out what happened, right? And they upload the correct data and all that. So it's a amazing system in that it checks itself. And
yeah, that's great.
And there's no central place that can go in and make a change. It's a majority program. So I can't go into my facility. In our facility, we can't see your data. All we know is that there are fragments here and there. The customer is the only one that can actually see their data when they reassemble it. I don't have the keys here. We don't want the keys, right? I don't want to see their data. But there's no one master place that I could go to look at their data. It doesn't exist. It's scattered to the 4 winds.
Yep.
And the only problem you have is if you lose your credentials, you can never get your data back, right? But that's just the way the world is.
Now, do people would you counsel people to keep their existing backups and their backup software? Yeah. And we talked a lot about this. Does this replace kind of native system state level backups? And
technically, it can replace your current backups, but it's not designed in that way. This is a last resort. Everything has failed, and it's really a bad day.
Yeah,
you can come in and grab your data here. Our system, blockchain, has some tremendous advantages. It also has some disadvantages. One of those disadvantages is speed. You're pulling data from many different locations and pushing it out. It's not going to be as fast as a standard backup drive. So in your backup drive, it's write once, read many. Ours is write once, read almost never. It's there in case there's a disaster. So our goal is not to change anything in your system. Our goal is to add an extra layer of protection that if it's Waterloo and you're French, you can at least get back in business. We've had people that say we'd like to replace our current backup systems. That's their call, and they can do that. But ideally, this is it's ridiculously inexpensive for what it offers. So it's just an extra layer there. So you can sleep well at night knowing that if everything goes bad, or one of your employees turns out to be a problem, because we're seeing that more and more. A full third of the hacking attempts out there now have some type of successful hacking attempts, have some type of internal collaboration with the bad guys. You can't protect against that. All the firewalls in the world aren't going to help you if you have people selling their passwords or intentionally doing damage to your system. So as the hackers become more and more dangerous every day, they come up with new innovative ways to get at your data. This gives you the knowledge that you're never going to go out of business because your data's been lost. That's the whole thing. And with the low cost, the ease of use, we're not offering this really as a replacement. It's a bolt-on that just gives you
it's a layering effect. And
yes.
Once you understand, and you don't have to understand blockchain, but it is a, like you said, it's a pile of confetti, but that gets reassembled. Mm-hmm. And trust is there's nothing to infect because it's essentially a distributed
Yes.
a system. And I think it's a layer. It's a defense in depth. It's a backup to a backup, and that's smart. So I wanted to bring you on because I thought it was a very powerful alternative. It's not a Me Too approach. It's using an exponential technology that is something I've been talking about for a long time. That blockchain going to have a very powerful impact in our life. Eventually, it'll be like water, or it'll be like the pipes in our building. We won't even know it's there.
Right.
Unless there's.
It is an amazing technology, and where we've been successful. There've been a lot of companies that have tried to work in blockchain. Where we're successful is we have identified the perfect or a perfect need for blockchain. And they have blockchain companies that have started up that try to do everything for everybody, and you can't do that. You have to have a purpose. This is really difficult, taking a pile of confetti and putting it back together after it's been.
Your mathematics background came in helpful, didn't it?
This is not an easy task to do, especially when you're marrying two blockchains with a smart contract and things going. It's not a job for the faint.
Is this a private blockchain, or did you use like Ethereum or one of the?
I have three different versions of this.
Okay.
We do use the Ethereum blockchain, a public blockchain. That's we're a member of the Ethereum Alliance. It's a wonderful tool, and we do use that on some of our clients. And by the way, even though it says public on it, it's a public thing. It's actually the most secure because it's the most distributed, right?
Okay.
So, but I have customers that as soon as they hear the word public, it's like, you're not keeping my data on anything public. So they have a private. Anything having to do with government, as a rule, is going to be on a private network. And then we have a consortium network, which we're building out ourselves, which is all of our clients. As we add a new client, we take a small bit of space on their blockchain archive server, and we store other people's fragments on it.
Okay.
So eventually, over the next 3 or 4 years, we'll have a consortium network of just our clients. And the costs are very small because, you're using clients' space, 10% of it, they're happy because it keeps their costs down too. So eventually we have a consortium network, but right now it's a marriage between public and private, and it just whatever the customer wants. We're real flexible on that.
So who does the computing? Who in the Ethereum world and on the public blockchain, you have forget the word, but it's the producer of the coin, or the producer, not of the coin.
So you have two separate systems out there, especially with Ethereum now. You have the proof of work scenario, which is where people called miners have
that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, have GPUs and even. It's a pretty impressive. I've seen mining farms that have 1,000 computers or 2,000 computers in them. It's amazing.
In Iceland and Norway, right, where they can keep them nice and cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool.
So we have a mine here with about 700 computers in it. But when Ethereum took a dive a few years ago, and it went from $1,400 down to $90, we repurposed those computers to do multiphysics math.
Okay.
So we've got our own, we've been using it for that. And then instead of air conditioners, we have a wind tunnel. We got the university was retiring a wind tunnel, and we asked for it, and we have our stuff arrayed in a wind tunnel, and it's really cool, and it makes it function quite well.
So 700 computers, and so that's essentially can provide a lot of the mining capabilities.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have some tremendous resources here to work all this, but right now we're using them for other purposes until our network gets big enough to. That's a lot of computing power. I think we were at 14 gigahashes a second or something. So if you need a galaxy map, we're your guys. Call us. We'll do that. But we don't need that much computing power. So hopefully over time, right, we'll put all the work on our consortium network. But for now, The proof of work is going away.
Is it? Okay.
It's going to be replaced with proof of stake, and the main reason is the environmental damage that
Oh, yeah,
the proof of work was creating was just intense. I think if you look at Bitcoin, some of the Bitcoin miners together were running more electricity than some whole countries were, and that's a lot of heat generated. That's a lot of wasted not wasted, but utilized electricity that could be used for other purposes. So they're switching to a proof of stake system, which, or at least some of them are, which is where instead of having the different miners do the transactions with their systems, it's based on someone putting up an amount of coins, cryptocurrency coins, to guarantee their accuracy. So if you make any changes on your node, you lose your coins. So it's a disincentive to do that. I don't know that it's going to be as effective or as efficient as the proof of work system, but it'll save a lot of electricity, right? And that's the way the market's going with them, anyways. So
very good, Don. This has been a great conversation. I have. Is there anything in particular that you were hoping I'd ask that I didn't ask that you would want to end with?
Well, Sollensys Corp is a public company. We went public in August. And we went public for two reasons. One is we wanted to be as transparent as possible in what we do, in the software we're developing. And more importantly, we wanted to have transparency as to the people behind the technology so that people can go in and it's not just some, we don't know who these people are scenario. We've got our resumes and backgrounds, and we have published financials. So they can go check to make sure we're going to still be here in a year or two. It makes us transparent in a better company, and we've really enjoyed being public. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it's not often that you can bring some excitement to the backup world, Don. So
Yes.
That's why marrying some exponential technologies, converging with some problematic areas with backup, and needing really, I would say, a 10x mindset differentiator, and marrying up your depth of wisdom and experience to make something which I believe is a really like you said, it's narrowly focused, but leverages and solves problems. It's not a problem looking for a solution, which is sometimes what happens in technology.
Right.
Sorry, a solution looking for a problem. This has been purpose built, and I've enjoyed learning about it. And I'll put it on the show notes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One last thing I want to point out. When we initially started this, we were working with the blockchain archive server, which was 8 terabytes, which was too much for most small businesses. So in December, we came out with a regional service center to where they can get 100 gigabytes of space to keep their data on. So even if you're just an individual and want to keep your family photos safe for the next 200 years, remember this is immutable and indestructible. So 100 gigabytes at a time now. So that makes it easy and affordable for anybody. So we want to democratize the technology. We want everybody to have this. So when you're driving down the street and there are 10 businesses there, you want to see 6 or 7 of them with the Sollensys blockchain, right?
Right.
It's all safe. So
I love that. That's a big vision.
And we're getting there. We're having some good success.
That's great, Don. I appreciate you for spending some time with me today, and wish you the best. And we'll put on the show notes page ways for people to reach out to you. How would you prefer people to reach out to you? Via LinkedIn, Twitter?
By our website, sollensys.com.
Okay. We'll put
We're through our distributors. So, and hopefully that's you guys pretty soon.
Absolutely, Don. I appreciate that very much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.